So, here we go again. £20 for a home visit by NHS England funded, public funded, general medical practitioner. So that, in other words, is a man or woman, a piece of paper, he's a doctor, she or he a doctor, and that's why you don't get home visits, because they want to make profit yet again. What's happened to the NHS? It used to be years ago in the United Kingdom. It's no wonder I've noticed personally, first-hand knowledge, lack of access to goods and services I need. And then it links on to other areas. It's not just the NHS. So you've got likes of public servants nationally. Theresa May going to use the mainstream media today. And other people are doing great blogs about this information and getting it out also. It's always about corporations, profit making of people that have nothing. Then there is this. Put a call in to seek clarification of a referral or dental operation. This is going back now. It's a saga going on. But anyway, still can't get access to what I need. So I learned about natural remedies and try to do what I can that way, but you still need so-called, access to a certain income, right? So that income blocks, right? If your so-called income blocks and you lose your job or you reduce hours and you're on DWP income, all that crap going on, how the hell are you going to afford the privatisation costs? It's like what they've done in America, the Obamacare and all that stuff going on. Look what they're doing to America, look what they're doing around other countries and see the pattern. Well, compare it perhaps if you can. But I'm coming from a point of view, first-hand knowledge. I'm seeing, observing other areas affected, not just so-called NHS. Now, if you don't know about the NHS constitution, ages ago, I can't remember how long ago now, there was this guy got the information out. They were already sold off assets, asset management they call it. You have these towns and cities throughout the United Kingdom. I don't know how it works in Scotland or Wales, but I just know by reading and observing a while ago now that document and videos linked to it. It was all about the plan all along. I mean, this has been in the pipeline for years. There's nothing new. But all those hard-earned, ordinary men and women, you're paying your taxes and national insurance and everything else you're doing in the state statutory system. This is all by design. We're going backwards instead of forwards in history. You know, we're absolutely going backwards. And if you can't even imagine what people did before the system, so-called, these corporations existed. We're meant to be in 2019, progress in 2019. Now we're going backwards. The year of 2019 will never be forgotten. Plus, the next few years is going to be the most important ones, even more than you can ever imagine. You look at how they're going for the vulnerable first, right? So, okay, the labels are out there. So, with my situation, they're going after the vulnerable first. They're going after the disabled. This is nothing new, but they're increasing it. This is a year. Well, it should have been done years ago, but if you can get books about your natural health, your natural remedies, anything you know or able to source, and do it now before it's too late. Go around secondhand shops or flea markets or places you might know that might have these books and look for anything on natural health, okay, and anything practical, because if I had my health, physical health tomorrow, I would not be living here. I'll be off grid completely, because it's not just about corporations profiting off NHS contracts. If you didn't know how the digital system is using the public purse, you got NHS Digital, that's a limited company, head office in Leeds. You got NHS England, that's a limited company. That CEO all over the news today. You do your research about him, and he's board of directors of 2 American companies. That's nothing new. But all this so-called, we're going to do this, that and the other for the public from now on. Yeah, right, I don't think so. Maybe if you can afford that £20 for that doctor's visit at your home. Maybe if you can afford your board and lodgings for that hospital that you need to be in. Yeah? God forbid you break a bone. This is why a lot of these people I admire when they're doing blogs about self-sufficiency. These people, is so important to learn first aid. It's so important to know how to survive, God forbid, if like mainstream electric gas goes off. This is deliberate, by deliberate cutting of the NHS as I know it. Well, I've known this for a while, but even more so. This is not just going to affect ordinary man in the street. It's going to affect first. What about the young children? You have to mind the nosy neighbours that like to bang their doors around here. But this is nothing new, what they're doing. It's all scaremongering as well. But these, not just on YouTube, not just on like mainstream, you know, social media now is going mainstream. But if you look at all these blogs, you know, internet blogs, people are doing websites, that is where you find information when you do your research, and you can store that information or print out something you might be able to that might help you. I've got my late mum, right? She taught me years ago. I never appreciated it when I was younger. She taught me years ago about dandelion leaves. Did you know that a dandelion leaf can help you? Even the dandelion tea can help you for I'm not going to go into it all because I'll be here all day. The whole list I've learned in natural health for years. I was trained years ago in natural remedies and natural health. I studied my arse off years ago to know this knowledge. And then obviously I didn't expect to get run over. I didn't expect to get physically ill. And then I'm stuck in the mainstream system. I don't like it. Because if I, as I said, I've always said this before, if I've had my health tomorrow, I would not be in this situation in the United Kingdom. I will be off with a like-minded community, with similar off the grid and learning how to heal by herbs. There are skills, people have it. I admire people who've got these skills and ability to use and know what oils to use. Your barrier oil, carrier oils for like you can use lavender for like stress. You can use lavender oil for like bruising on the body. All of these natural cures are there. The only reason so-called NHS existed, if you look in the history, how it created, why it's created, and I believe the original reason it's created was a bloody good idea, because it did help. But look at the history. I mean, I used to be good at history years ago, but if you look at back in history, what existed before Big Pharma, what existed before these corporations come in, and taxation to the hill of the public, so-called NHS. So you look at the privatisation model, you look at the insurance model, everything is going, it's like people cannot be, if you don't sense there's going to be a financial crash any time now, then it's like about preparation for first aid skills, looking at preparations for what's nutrition for your foods. Look at what they're doing, a bigger picture and other subjects too. It all links back to one thing, your health, and it looks for your family. Even if you've got little kids, if you've got grandkids, you know, it's all about sharing knowledge. But then again, with the way the internet is, the way in United Kingdom, especially the way it's going already here, I should say, the censorship. You can't really go and say, well, this is a natural cure for such and such and such, because then you'll just get all this like statutory so-called government officials come down on your neck. You need to be so damn careful, and people are really doing their best for a long time getting the information out. If I didn't know about reflexology, I've got a book. I studied that years ago. Do you know how very important that is on your feet? How your nerve endings, everything to do with, you know, your body, your human body, I should say. I'm not expert in biology, by the way. And if you look at the history of reflexology, or the base of your feet, your nerve endings, you look at the biology, how reflexology can help to heal the mind, you know, on the nerve endings of a certain parts of the base of your feet. You can look at how everything related to the nerve endings of the body, and then also on your hands. And I don't know where I can get I've got the book packed away, but I can get it out, and when I feel able to do a stream about that, because as I said, it's frustrating. I can't do it myself on my own body, but when you look at the natural remedies available, and there's so many people out there around the world are look at the history. So much of it's been buried for so long to bring in the privatisation or corporations around the world. But United Kingdom is all being designed that way. And I'm no expert, but you link up to the World Wars 1 and 2, and then the implementation of NHS in the UK. And how, yes, I don't knock it. But a big but. Now it's all about profits, isn't it? Now it's all about the making medicines, you know. I don't knock medicines, but I mean, claim all these charities claiming this, that, and the other, you know, linked up to promotion of whatever subject linked into the NHS. So the letters in itself, national, what do I really want to abbreviate it for? National Health Service, National Health Service, or something like that. But they keep bringing in these wonderful brand big headlines for the mainstream media to get ordinary people confused. But those are waking up, know what's going on, you know. And for example, they you think of why they're bringing in the privatisation, right, more than ever. The constitutional NHS is there for a reason, but you have to literally push your rights. But they don't care about that anymore. One phone call today seeking clarification on this particular subject, on a dental subject, actually, referral. I wondered why last year the referral went to a private limited company up in Leeds in UK. I had no contract, no consent to share my data to a company I didn't know about. And that was all the way up in Leeds in the United Kingdom. When I checked out the website, it's all about censorship, about who can get what service and who's going to be. It's like you have to meet certain tick box exercise just to get certain services, and then when you don't get informed that you do have a choice where you can get meant to be offer NHS services, whatever it might be. And then suddenly you find, unfortunately, circumstances you can't access something because something happened in your life and you have to deter until another time. Then you're back to square one. But then you find out now there's more restrictions and more reductions in access services. Then you look at the subject of mental health. If you didn't know about natural health and natural remedies on that aspect, where does mental health? Where did this originate from? Look at the history on that subject, and you look at the DSM manual. I mean, if you ever research the history of mental health, how that came about, God forbid, in centuries. I mean, circumstances, you know, does affect our psychological makeup of the neurons of the brain, you know, the makeup of the brain. We are complex. The human body is a complex mechanism, really, of many situations. And modern life, I suppose, if you want to put it, you know, I suppose in a way, can cause so much labels. The system, the NHS, need labels for profit. It does not define who you are. Then you've got the weather. You've got many other external situations, and the weather effects now, the changes in that. Just look above and outside. Ever notice what the weather used to be like where we live? It's all changed again. So that impacts on the body and your health. You breathe, say you open your window, you're breathing all that, getting that toxic air in your home. So you're breathing it and you're getting all this illnesses in the body. But it's learning about how and what foods, non-GM foods, and about herbs, perhaps in plants or whatever, and knowing how to source that kind of information and then the natural ingredients. It's getting more difficult now, especially in my area. I've only found one place that does jarred certain food, and if you learn about these prepper websites and how, and I'll give you one simple simple word, if I can pronounce it right, is the Amish religious community. They do not rely on mainstream anything. They're self-sufficient in their health, and people may not believe, but they've got something going, haven't they? I saw someone's prepper blog about a natural remedy for colds and flus when your immune system's run down, and the ingredients are so simple, but you just need the effort to put in to make the items and how to store it and how to make it. And there's one YouTube channel, I can't think of which one I saw now, I've seen so many, and it was absolutely brilliant idea. But again, unfortunately, you do need to have the skills, your physical help to be able to do this, and then the space in your home, and then the affordability. So God forbid, if you lose your job in the United Kingdom, the way the homeless is going, there's a thing going off in my area about it at the moment. This charity and that charity is doing this, doing that. Well, all due respect to them, they're trying their best. But do you think really any political mainstream party is going to do anything for anybody in the United Kingdom? Think again. If you don't research a history about how the political arena was created, this is all just political PR exercise. And today's just another example for so-called NHS subject. What's another sample? Don't forget, if you ever studied how the media works, mainstream media, I used to be in PR media years ago. This time of year is always a slow period for news. So they're going to jump down and make something out of nothing. And that's what they always do, fake news, whatever. But going back to the late 90s, I knew how they can twist everything. I mean, now the internet's there anyway, people can make their own news, but whatever that might be. But it's so more important now to get off mainstream anything with so-called government, because your body, your life, your family, your children, the next generation, your grandchildren's health, everything's connected to your body, your mind, body and soul. It's all connected. And if I hadn't noticed how my mother deteriorated and why she did, she gave up because she was lonely. She gave up because she was family orientated. She gave up because she didn't feel she had a connection with her family members or a large family. I don't believe in their particular religion, but I respect what they want to do. But they have their mindsets closed. When you are awakened up to a bigger picture, what's going on around you, be aware that you'll get it, most probably you'll get it harder. You'll get the stereotypes of the so-called government figures saying, oh no, you shouldn't think like this, you shouldn't think like that. Who tells you can think a certain way, act a certain way, behave a certain way? No. When you go into so-called NHS hospital, it's like it's really so like a conveyor belt system. So I had experience of that last September. And you're on that trolley in that A&E, and you have the standard blood test, the standard test, the standard this, the standard that. You don't get to see the results unless you get your medical notes out of a GP surgery, and that's taken 6 months, still got no response to that. But then you find that digital age is here, and this is why they're going all out to sell off to the highest bidder your data. That's what they're after, is your data, to profit for their big corporations, insurance companies, and it's American style. Don't blame American people per se, but it's American politics coming into the United Kingdom. It's here already. So that's why it's so important to learn about, if you don't already know, source books, any information. I mean, I don't know if anyone's got an experience being a Girl Guide or in the old-fashioned boys' brigade system, where you used to go out camping, you used to know what wild flowers and edible things. There's shout out to a YouTube lady I know in America, beautiful lady. She's a talented artist, Rebecca Bradley. She's obviously on Facebook. Check her out. She got me in, I don't know how long ago now, but about 2.5 years ago, started learning about the natural plants, edible plants, and the usage for, like, not just in tea, not just in food, you know, like in herbal teas. You can also make a paste for your body. There's injury, or God forbid, you have a graze on your body. Depending, obviously, you have to be careful and know what you're doing. There are great herbalists out there, but how many natural herbalists in your area, in United Kingdom town cities, can you find? And if you can afford their prices. So this is why it's all about self-empowerment now, isn't it? And it's not just about, like, oh my goodness me, if the financial crash hits, you're not going to be able to afford to keep running your websites, are you? So all these people try their best to get information out. We'll most probably lose the internet. What are you going to do then? Why do you think they want to deter people having books and use IT? Goodness me, how long does your phones or iPads or computer last nowadays? 2 years or less? That's from my experience anyway. So practical sense is books. You can never, never, never have enough books of natural ways to try and heat your home, how to live. And I know it might be bricks and mortar, but think about this for 1 minute, right? How do you think the homeless people survive around the world? Okay, and if, say, where the weather's going, I'm not expert in this, but obviously people do certain information out there about the polar shift subject. They are amazing what they do. I mean, I don't know how they do it, but I'll tell you what I've come across and what I'm observing first-hand knowledge. Just even outside my own front door in the weather, it's obvious to me what's going on. But a lot of good people are still asleep. All of those around me practically are still asleep, you know, in my area. And if the mainstream power goes off, like overnight, God forbid, they won't know what to do. They wouldn't know how to get battery operated little tea lights, you know. You have to be careful when you're living in a building or you're living in flats. Health and safety, all this, you know, fire safety, that kind of practical situation. And then I come from a point of view where, being unfortunate, the label comes in with the system being disabled. It gets more complicated when you have all this physical ailments going on, but the body has a natural element to heal, and then it starts with oneself. And it is frustrating because when you are so used to the mainstream NHS system or anything mainstream, you know, and in the housing mainstream system, these homeless people I spoke to a period of time now, I cannot know how long it's been, but they know how to survive in the elements. They might not be in brilliant health themselves, they might not know certain skills, but they have a survival instinct, a survival nature, you know. So much for the NHS. So anyway, I've just come on a short information about so-called mainstream media pushing the NHS. Yeah? Question mark? Think about the history. What happened to people that didn't have anything? They went into the poorhouses, didn't they? The workhouses. What happened to those workhouses? The separation of the adults, the family. What's happening nowadays? Separation of the family unit, isn't it? You look at the bigger picture, because it's not just the NHS. It's more than that. Much more than that. And when you start investigating, there's more to life than the mainstream system, because look at it. If you lose your job tomorrow, what you're going to do if you've got a mortgage? Yeah? Where you're going to live? If you've got family and friends to put you up, good luck. If you've got anyone to help you to heat, you know, somewhere to live, or how you're going to get your food, you know, all of these things sometimes people don't always think about because they're so used to modernise everyday things the way it is now. But when you have that gut instinct and you're brought up a certain way and you have that in you, you never lose it. Because I forgot myself years ago what my late mum taught me, but it's come back. You see, you don't always lose the knowledge, you don't lose the skills. Might not be physically able to do much, but I can only share and pass on what I know. And if that helps somebody that is able-bodied to do more than I can do physically, then I've done my little bit to help humanity out there. It's not a quick fix, I tell you that now, but your inner spirit, your motivation, your skills, everyone's got their own little skills, you know, whatever it might be. But being prepared is the most important thing nowadays than ever than before. And there's a lot of channels out there that are scaremongering, and I don't do that. I just tell it as it is, facts from experience and what I observe. And I'll tell you that now. If anybody is not waking up to what's going on, not just United Kingdom, but the bigger picture, do you know who's really happy? Those that's got nothing. You know, I know it sounds a bit strange, but you look at these people, oh, okay, we're meant to be the richest country in what? Compared to what? No. If you look the history of how United Kingdom existed, how they've taken over countries around the world, how there's a couple of videos I saw today, and I knew about this certain knowledge for years ago, but I don't talk about it. I just know it, and I know this year coming, you know, now, right, moving forward, it's going to be the most important year for a lot of people in different ways. And those that got their blinkers on, good luck to them, because they don't realise that say they're having children now. Say that little baby that's being born perhaps today, what they say, a baby's being born every minute or so. So they take it home and they do a stroll, perhaps in the weather, keep it warm, you know, when it's old enough, perhaps in the pram. And what they're breathing in the toxic weather for then? That baby's going to get sick. It's going to grow up being sick. Where's the NHS then? It won't be. It's all private. Where's that family going to be if they lose their job, their home, their house? Where's that baby going to end up? Think about it. The care system, the children's services system, and the state system. Well, hold on. I thought that's already crumbling. The care system's already crumbling. Hiya. To see you, chest. Well, don't get on here and troll because you'll just be deleted. This is a serious subject for those that are important to know about the NHS system that's crashing. And no, this channel is about legit people that want to know about how to be self-sufficient and how to look at generally about their natural health and well-being and look and educate themselves. Because if you don't educate yourself, then it's up to you. You're free to do what you want, but if you don't learn anything from history to where we are to date, and you just observe things, what's going on in different parts of the world, you know, then there's not much else to say. Because I just know that each one of us, look how so-called yellow jackets, what they're trying to do is take back ordinary people, trying to take back control, trying to take control of your own lives, you know. You're trying to take control of your own situation, and sometimes you can't help. Unfortunate, what happens, you end up in an accident, then you think the NHS is going to help. I don't knock it, because when I got injured, I ended up in the NHS and they did their best, but nothing's perfect. They're just individuals trying to do their job. It's mainly the CEOs, the board of directors are the ones connected to the bigger picture and privatisation, in not just the NHS, United Kingdom. And that's just worldwide. And that's happening all over. And that's nothing new. Nothing new about what's in the mainstream media again today. Nothing new. But what is important is learning the basics about your body, about the natural health, you know, because how many young couples nowadays are running to the doctor because their little one's sick? What about learning what is healthy in natural health? What ingredients or oils are safe to use? Getting the books out and finding time, get off their computers, get off the iPads and phones. How many people do you see walking around or out and about with their phones in their hand all the time and not looking up and talking to people? observation. That's all I do. And the thing is, despite my situation, I might not be able to do as much as I like, but at least I do remember from so many years ago what my late mum did. Grow your own food. If you got the ability to grow your herbs in your own home, there's so cheap ways to do it as well, because it's all about trying to do what you can with little. I used to know this individual, don't know him as much, but it's Russian. He used to be in the Russian army. He told me the skills they taught them in the Russian army in his time when he was there. He's not that old, gentleman I knew. And the basic skills, what they knew how to survive, and they don't have. So like Nhs Uk, anything like that. And this individual, he had to seek rough before he found a place to live. And he was telling me so much information about the skills, because I helped him out a couple of things over the period of time. And that's private. But I tell you, the skills is important. For example, if you know how to make magnesium, for example, if you're able to get a bag of magnesium, put it in a foot bath, how that helps your body and your feet heal if you've got problems with your feet, for example, and that it absorbs into your skin at the base of your feet, because everything's all your nerve endings at the base of your feet, as I said, reflexology, and that really helps the body sink into your cells, gets up into your body and really relaxes you and helps you sleep naturally. But you see, mainstream stresses of life causes a lot of these illnesses, and a lot of it's man-made. And a lot of it's deliberate, as I said about the weather. Then you've got the GMO foods. Then all this massive, bigger picture than I can ever go into is already been there for years. It's just been slowly affecting the body, slowly. And then the mentality, unfortunately, of mainstream society relying on the system. So you've got the mainstream housing, you've got mainstream gas, electric, you've got the mainstream, oh goodness me, what if they haven't got the cars? I can't even tell you how many people live around here that's got 2 cars. What if they lose their jobs? And they said, what Bank of England collapses? Look at the market in America, what's going on. And if you don't realise the history of the Green Bank, of the monetary system, and you find it's about, oh goodness me, if you don't sense in your gut instinct that's about to hit the fan, and what's going to happen then? Do you have any storage of food? The storage of food, for example, could be tin stuff. It's not healthy, I know, but it's something. Yeah, water. Think about the water and the body. All these little things might just seem small at the moment, but it might help somebody one day to think and to have something in. Because if there is a financial crash, if people, like my situation, for example, you're relying on the UK so-called DWP system. Yeah, it's known as Department of Works and Pensions, and the state benefit system pays for housing and disability access to pay for extra costs you have on food and basic things like that. Well, they're deliberately targeting people, making them fit for work when they're generally not, and they're ill, and people are born with disabilities, right? Impairments, they can't help it. It's just life, unfortunately. But unfortunately, when the big pharmaceutical company, you look back, I don't know if anyone does genealogy. You go back in history, you look how, for example, I've got my mum's side, the history of the if you look at the medical history from years ago, I mean, I'm talking a long time ago, as I said, how the first mainstream pharmaceutical industry was created. That's fascinating information. You find documentaries about that. I found, again, I can't link it because there's so many I've come across over the years. It's all been into private hands companies, and now monopoly or over the United Kingdom is 2 companies I know of, and one I know obviously in my area too. But how beneficial, how healthy, look at the side effects of the prescriptions of these medications that a lot of people with disabilities are relying on, and what extra illnesses that may allegedly create. Who knows? So it's just all goes back to square one. 2019, I'm not into prophesizing anything, but in 2019, do you get a sense that we're going back to square one in history? Not as quite as drastic as it used to be, what with modern technology nowadays, but do you get a gut instinct that something is about to hit the fan? It's not just the NHS, though. And that's what they want the public to focus on in the mainstream media again today. Focus on something else. And before you know it, you're not looking, something else happens. What next? It's always something else happening. And another, and another. It's like a conveyor belt of life. Unless you get off it a little bit at a time in your own situation, what it may be, before you know it. How many companies have gone bust in the space of a year? How many people lost their jobs? How many people are literally, all these figures that mainstream media and so-called UK government comes out with about that. And then there was, as again today, there's another article about there's £20, UK currency, £20 per visit for somebody for a doctor's home visit. You might say, okay, I could afford it. Well, what if there's a financial crash? How would you afford it then? What would you pay with it? Would you pay with it with a can of beans, can of tuna? Years ago, the bartering system, the financial system, the bartering, the history of monetary system, if you ever research that, it's fascinating in how it's turned into what it is now. So it's all about it's all about your energy. It's about your information, what they're after. It's about your data. It's what they're after. It's nothing about offers and services. It's your sweat equity that creates the value. Your hard-earned labour, if you're able to work, is supporting the system. And like people get up to work, do their thing, and it might be a generation thing. Oh, I've got to do my bit. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Well, fine, but think about it. Like I know a neighbour, they work in a factory. That company went bust, they'll be out of a job. Will they be able to find another job? There's so many people in different situations are struggling in reality, and that's why it's so important to look at alternatives. And that is a very tall order if one's not used to it, even to think about it. And I really just sense this year is definitely going to be a way that, why do you think they're targeting the individuals that have, for example, they don't have family support network, they don't have real good friends to really be there for them. And then perhaps then you got the state comes in and say, oh, we need to do the babysitting. I'll just putting the word out there, not in disrespectful terms, but we need to see we can offer you goods and services. Well, that takes a lot of red tape. And then you might just be offered, they call it assisted living now, all these new models, new ways of offering services, combined, they call it, combined services. You're meant to have a choice, they say. Well, you don't really have a choice. With the statutory so-called UK government system, the way it works, and it's all right, there's so many people just want to sit in front of their telly and not think. They see the news tonight, there's an item coming up. I don't watch, I have a TV, and there's some people watch and say, got to do something about the homeless crisis. But it's not just about that. It's not just about, there's that, I suppose, I mean, you could have a whole great big A4 sheet or list of situations that's going on in just in the United Kingdom alone. But when you see there's a pattern, repeated pattern, and every year it's going downhill, not to be negative, but it's going downhill. More and more people are getting information out about self-reliance and natural health, and about you know, how to like, for example, you can't have a generator in a flat if the gas electric goes out, because obviously people logic about that, what the effect of having that in the home could have. And then you've got to look at the other angles, right? Your security, for example. So, right, we got an individual right outside my parking bay. My mate is seeing with the beams on, right, pointing at my window. It's all right. Yeah, we're just checking. So anyway, just natural health, looking at ways to try and heal the body, practical ways to try and look at battery operated things. It's not ideal. Look at wind up torches and radios and lights, for example. The other stream was about lighting. Thinking of ways other than the mainstream, like camping lights. It's not ideal, but it's something. Looking at things that you might be happy with physical health, you might be able to make things, you know, to you know, like live off grid, but you're in a bricks and mortar temporarily measure. I really would like to see of a community, like-minded people helping each other in their areas, but unfortunately, in reality, there's a small majority of people that are waking up in United Kingdom, and a lot of people do not able to talk sometimes to their neighbours about certain subjects like this, perhaps, or be preparing, you know, preparedness, and or what to do if the system is off the grid, you know, off, you know, learn about off grid. They're too busy thinking about going to work, going home on the conveyor belt of life. You know, and then perhaps the way of psychological way of thinking of the upbringing and the way of doing things. I don't think UK will never fold, the financial system will never fold, the NHS system won't ever crumble, I'll always have a job, I've got a good pension, public services will always be there. Well, good luck to them then, they want to think like that. I know it ain't going to be like that. I know I can't go into it all, but there's so much that I've experienced firsthand. But I know it's going to, there's a lot of services, there's everything. Why do you think there's a lot of services merging? All these companies set up, it's all about merging, it's all about contracts, it's all about, if you ever looked into how public funds of NHS is contracted out in contract law to these private companies and the board of directors and the CEOs. So that's all it's all about. So this blog, £20 for home visit. And then what? Pay for your board and lodgings in a hospital setting. Well, hold on. The public is paying for these services. We've got an individual outside my door right now causing a problem. Bear with me. Yeah, Karen, you're right. He lives opposite me. He's one of these ones that unfortunately doesn't think. Yeah, Karen, you're right. Turn outside the door. You got your camera. Yeah, check at the peephole and get your camera out. Make sure the door's safe. Yeah? It's locked, isn't it? As soon as I raised my voice, that bloke's gone into his flat and shut up. Yes, right, Karen, I did that to make sure he knows what he shouldn't be doing stuff. Certain individuals creating certain problems outside in the corridor. The door's locked was safe. Thank you, Karen. You're fine. You don't need to do that. But anyway, I've got to go. It's 6:30 almost, and that individual is opposite me. Doesn't normally come in this time. It's usually about 1 or 2 in the morning that wakes me up. So be aware of your surroundings, your safety, common sense approach, natural health, and just build fervent in life. Trust your gut instinct on things, and God forbid you don't ever go ill, and you ever end up in hospital. I admire these people, the ex-army, military people that have these skills, that know what to do in emergencies. I admire these people that think they're still doing. I mean, I've got nothing against frontline employees, are just trying to do their job, but it's not just, they think their job's secure. They think they're a member of a union. What if that union collapses and their finance and people lose their jobs and the national UK financial system crashes, then all of the dominoes have fallen. All of these services popped up by public funds. And then you could have a static services because you still have companies exist, perhaps. But how will they exist financially? Then you're looking at the online cryptocurrency, that kind of system, perhaps. Who knows? We're living in a digital age. But if you don't realise how fragile digital currency is, I'm not an expert in that either, by the way. You can research that for yourself. If you have the commodity, what it's going to be worth if a shite hits the fan, all due respect, is going to be your survival techniques, your ability to know how to heal, your ability to what's going to be worth is water, even it's bottled water, your tin food, your dry food, your skills is going to be more valuable. He's doing it again, bear with us. Yeah, Karen. Just keep the recording going. It's about 3 people living opposite me in one flat. And they're hovering outside my door right now, bear with us. One of them smashed the communal front door. So just bear with us a minute, because I live right opposite. You okay? You got it out? Yeah? Okay. The door's locked anyway, yeah? Alright, thanks, Karen. Yeah, have yourself a cup of tea. Thank you very much. Yeah, that is 3 people live opposite me, unfortunately. That's the way the world is, isn't it, when people are trying to survive? And unfortunately, you have to look at your security, your safety, and your environment where you live as well. So the most valuable thing is going to be your food. It's going to be the water. And you think about how the body is made up, biology-wise. As I said, I'm not expert in this. How also this could affect your whole well-being, mind, body, and soul. Everyday stresses. Yeah, so I don't do fear mongering. It's just information, just sharing bits of information. Take it or leave it. But I think it's going to be a patchwork quilt, an environment where the so-called NHS system is going to be patched up with the private corporations and their contracts, and then those literally have nothing. I mean, you don't believe there's a class society still going on. Well, there is, obviously. And you can't expect when your personal situation will have disabilities, illnesses, and ill health. You don't know when, God forbid, you benefit. Look at what's going on with all that. You see, it's not just the NHS, as I said before. This is what the headlines, that they completely get it all wrong. People get ill because, God forbid, if you lose your benefit system, you're homeless and you have deteriorates your psychological well-being, your physical health. God forbid, you walk out the door on the way to work and you get hit by a car, you end up in a wheelchair for life. There's so many positive, so many scenarios that could happen, God forbid. And as I said, you can't predict what life unfortunately is going to happen, but you get the gut instinct eventually. It's only by living through certain experiences you get that gut instinct. But the basic knowledge, basic information is so simple things are important, and usually it's for free. And that's where I come from. And my experience of life, the basic knowledge and happiness in life is those that you can't pay for, and that is free. And that is what matters within your own situation, your life, yourself, your family, your friends, if you have them, and how you react to situations as well. So I delete comments from trolls, so this will be checked out in a minute, this stream, and on this device, and look at alternatives. So if you can, for example, financial system happens, crashes, you won't be able to use your internet, smartphones, iPads, that kind of thing. What would you use instead? Look at how I have a brother who's an ex-army. I found out things about him. I won't go into private. And I know certain communications and the old school communication systems, not so-called technology now, that is still in operation. And look at how I can remember quite a while ago, see certain communication methods and what they use then. You look why they're pushing all everything digital. Ever thought about that? And why they're pushing the 5G, technology, and the smart cameras all around town in my area is all linked up already to 5G towers. What about satellites, mobile phones? You see, it's not just the NHS, because the effects of the Wi-Fi radiation, allegedly, put it this way, and also the effects of the GOM, the weather, as well, on the health of the body, your mind, body, spirit and soul, and your loved ones and family members. And then those around you are not waking up what they get ill and pass the germs on to yourself. So it's all about not being OTT about it all, but it's looking at practical, logical solutions. What about wind-up clocks and radios when there's no batteries? You see, these basic information I learned a long, long time ago, and I still got my late mum's draft or document she gave to me years ago, 72-hour pack to be ready, what to put in there. And I'm already prepared on that one. And not OTT on it, just basic information, And especially when you have to look at, if you're living in a building and I'll tell you that, God, we don't, obviously, in this part of the world. There's other subjects people go into about fracking, how that affects the earth and water and everything you might live by. And if you're not aware of that subject, that's interesting to investigate. But just stick to one thing, in my opinion, because you can get overwhelmed by so much. I've had years of knowing certain subjects and learning and going down many rabbit holes, but I don't do that anymore. I just stick to one thing, and whatever works for your situation, whatever you want to be prepared for. But be aware of the doom and gloom websites, beware of the OTT information that is getting out there, and beware of the typical mainstream disinformation allegedly is out there. And I'm on about trying again. So this channel started off about the weather, then it went on to the housing, mainstream housing, then it went on to the health subject, and now it's on about natural health and resources, and on a limited budget. And seriously though, this is the change is within. Change, no matter what happens, you go outside, as I said, you go outside your door, and like what happened to me back in December. The police won't ever catch, they won't ever do anything, I know that. The public sector services employees, they mean well, but they won't do nothing. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I know karma, what goes around comes around. And I know I have my mum's DNA in me, and I didn't appreciate it years ago, mind you. The basic things she taught how to survive. We used to go, this is why she took us camping out when we were younger. She took us camping. She took us, made sure we did our chores. She taught us basic things. It wasn't always survival. But when we were in the Girls' Brigade, that kind of thing, years ago, we did all this. That's why I like history and geography. It's very good at that. I know how to read a map. I know how to use a compass. Basic things like that comes in handy if the grid goes down, if the mainstream system goes down. Would you know your surroundings where you live? Yeah. But you see, you think you live in a city, a built-up area? God forbid, think about it, right? If the system does hit the fan, and you don't want to brag about, or not bragging, but don't want to mention too much, or put online or on social media that you have this, that, and the other. This is your not your actual location, but this is what you have. You're prepared for this, that, and the other, because then people could come to your home. You see, I saw one channel who gave some practical information for those living in cities about preparing for if the system, the grid goes down, not just in America, but other places. And then there was another channel I saw about how to grow your own herbs and foods within your own home in a small apartment, they call it in America, but in a flat, for example. And how to declutter perhaps if your items in your home you could recycle or sell or whatever at the moment and raise some funds that way to buy the things you might need for that. And all these little things over a period of time, people's been doing this for a while actually, a long, long, long while. And that's already off the grid. And not a couple of people I've observed, they're living in certain cabins, but those certain individuals might have their fiat currency to be able to afford to do that, but a lot of people don't. And then I saw one video the other day, and I haven't seen an update video of this, but he's in America and he's homeless and he made do with recycle things. And the way he did it just reminded me when I used to go camping with my family years ago and how we managed. And we were on Dartmoor, like real back in the woods, like in the middle of nowhere in Dartmoor. And that's, by the way, in Devon in the United Kingdom. Beautiful place if you ever get to visit. God forbid it was still about the way the system is now. But growing up there, all of that skills, cooking outdoors, learning to read the map, the hiking, the walking, all of these skills. And that's why when I was growing up, I remember them, taught my own son and daughter when they were younger and got involved in basic training, the cadets, army cadets, karate, first aid, all of these things. Unfortunately, they get older, what happens? Sadly, they get married, they have a family, and they forget the skills. It's a shame, really, because it happens to me when a similar situation when I was younger, and it's only when certain things happen in your life you start to remember. Anyway, I'm just going to get off now, and so-called NHS, be aware that if the shite doesn't hit the fan, if we don't have a financial crash this year, the weather doesn't get any worse, and we do survive, or people survive, and the system is changing. As I said, it's very easy to get concerned or the pressure of so-called conveyor belt of life, as I call it. But the main point is take one thing at a time. And when everything seems to come out all at once, bombard. That's the bloody UK system is like, isn't it? It's like they bombard you with so much pressure all at once, and then the mindset, psychologically wise, can overwhelm. Here's an actual oil to help with stress. Is lavender. If you're sensitive to essential oils, get a barrier oil if you can. And if you know how to make essential oils or herbs, that's even much more cost effective and cheaper. and just have some stock, you know, little these bottles you can buy and order it before the way the world goes, meant to be going, literally, put it that way. And I'm not afraid of what's going to, I know things are majorly changing for me this year, but I'm not afraid because I know I've done my little bit, you know, the best I can. And yeah, I'll be glad to get away from it all. But the way I'll be going, the way the system is, I know it won't be what it's meant to be, and meant to be lawful and meant to be honourable. But at least I've learnt the skills, I've done my little bit, and now it's up for those that's got the ability to put things, you know what they say? All these protests, what they call them, that was in France yesterday. I saw this online. What do they achieve? They have the real people power kind of thing. They had the right idea, but you think about it, those are, oh my goodness me, these ordinary individuals, these so-called billionaires, they're not happy. They're not happy deep down. Who they? Where's their true spirit in their heart? They might have a true spirit, but who are they really connected to in the bigger picture? You know, I mean, all parts of the world, and there's all these so-called who voted for who. I mean, I didn't consent. I didn't consent to vote for nobody. I don't vote. You know, you're not voting for an MP. What's an MP? What's it really stand for? What's your local community, they call it in the main statutory system. And then you look how bureaucracy, you know, like NHS trusts, the board directors, the CEOs, how much are they earning per year? It's not for the ordinary man and woman, is it, when they're struggling to put food on their table and feed their kids and pay their way? And again, this time of year, it's always the same. On the like a conveyor belt. It's either talking about health and fitness, it's talking about holidays. You see it next 2 weeks, the mainstream media, we're talking about holidays next. So, as I said, slow media, you know, this time of year. So they'd be talking about the it's always the same every year. Have you ever thought and stopped to think about it, right? So today my mate was listening on the radio and they're talking about debt. Okay, so people perhaps spent over the top for whatever they feel they need to do, if they can afford it, for Christmas, New Year, family presents. What are you really buying? Are they going to really use it? You know, is it more efficient to buy something like a pair of woolly socks because the weather's getting cold? Is it, I know it sounds odd that, but what about buying a wind up radio? Practical things that might helpful. I know your family members might think, oh my God, what have I got this for? But it's all about educating them. A book, you know? When's the last time people picked up a book to read it? And if they're able to have like the old fashioned, oh, my late mum had one. It was one of these magnifier glass. I've got a whistle combined with a red lens and the white lens. You can use it to start a fire if you're camping. It's one of these camping versions. And what about lights? I've got 2 of these headlights. And it is handy if you, God forbid, your mobile phone, your smart technology crashes on you and you've got no light. For example, I live in an area where they, at the moment, 24 hours a day, they've got these blinking lights on. But before then, it was dark. So you've got a camping light on, you've got the batteries on, and you've got it in your bag or around your neck, whatever, on your head, and you've got a source of light. You've got the push buttons. Okay, you put it on the wall, you might think, oh my God, I'm going to spoil the paint on the wall. Or you're going to spoil the wallpaper on your nice posh wall. But those push button lights, you can get a pack of 2 in a cheap shop, I won't say which ones, and a couple of those AA batteries in there, and they're bright, extremely bright. People sometimes use them for nightlight, but you can have other similar ones like lantern, camping lanterns, lights that are powerful. And I look at it as like point of view coming from a disabled woman, right? One-handed. So what can I manage? Yeah, in my wheelchair. So with that certain lantern I know I can get for quite a cheap price, that will be a backup. as a light source as well. And then there's another, as I said, these are the 2 camping light things you can put around your head. It's mainly if you're camping, but it's also useful in everyday situations. And well, for my situation, for example. And as I said, these push button lights, it's not ideal, but if you've got certain ones you can dot around your home, it's also safer than candles, because that can, and if you ever get these ones, you can get like these fake candle lights in a container, battery operated, you get a few of them dotted around, and that's another source, alternative light. But then you're looking about heating. Well, if you ever source about knitting, I know it's old fashioned, crocheting blankets, things like that, you're going around charity shops, you're stocked up and things like that, God forbid if the heating goes. I'm just giving, an idea, because this is the things my mum used to do. So I've absolutely forgot I had all these lovely crochet blanket and things, which my mates got out and just put to one side, just to back up, just in case, always being prepared. And then it's like, if you think about it, how you're going to cook, say, for example, you might think, oh, I ain't thought about that. What about you can't use a cooker, right? So how are you going to heat your food? How are you going to cook, right? And say if it breaks down. Simple little things. Have you got a backup plan? Well, I've got 2 items I can use, which I haven't got around, or I can't use it, my friend has to. It's always having a backup plan. And then you think about it, your water. Have you think, what are the water, God forbid, the world hits the pan, shite hits the pan, and you can't get water out your tap? Well, you're going to drink water out of your cylinder, out of your toilet, are you? Or you got any certain tablets that you can put in some, you got certain containers, right? You can reuse and store water in there, boil water and store water. It might sound odd, but you've got a source of water. But then you look about the certain type of glass or plastic bottles, and depending on the height and the size of your family or situation. Luckily, I learned that a while ago, so have a source of that. And it's because you think, for example, if you get someone doing some work outside your home and you've got a power cut and they burst a pipe, you've got no water, what are you going to do then? You see, these little things over the years has taught me I have to have a backup plan. So, like with this, for example, the NHS is the subject of this straight, and you're in hospital. Think about it, right? They always seem to get messages out, mainstream shows and TVs and movies these days, about what may happen. The word MAY, may. Then it could be, God forbid, you're in hospital and suddenly power cuts there, water supply goes. They have a backup plan. They always do in the basements. I mean, I got to know somebody a long time ago, a porter, and he was telling me about certain things they have. You wouldn't even want to go down there, he says, under their building. But anyways, a couple of things he was saying. And the generators, how massive they are, how much, what storage and what backup plan they have, and how long will those generators last? How long will the water supply last? And then you might say, in the bigger picture, be lived by a reservoir. I mean, about, I don't know how far the nearest one to me is, but say that eventually gets drained and there's no source, the weather goes, whatever the weather could be like, who knows? There's so much going on up there right now. There's no source of rain, or it is acid rain, but how would you drain off that toxic in that water, lead to water? Toxicity. And do you have any tablets, particular camping tablets that can provide your water supply? Have you thought about that? You see, if a shot hits a van, God forbid, how many other people be rushing out there all at once, trying to get kind of these things, items in, and those that may be able to afford it more than the other? How many people do you think in your community, wherever you live? Because those that have nothing, and go back again, just observing things again, these people that live in certain countries that don't have mainstream electric, gas and water, do you think they're going to survive better than those mainstream houses and built up areas and cities and flats and stuff? Just a question mark on that one. Just a thought. Anyway, NHS, yeah, right. It's all about digital age, and it's all about, have you ever looked into this at all and ever sensed something isn't quite right? Well, just trust your gut instinct in your personal situation, because I'll tell you this now, if you ever sense something don't seem quite right, and you ever seen articles, suddenly you see little words come out, oh, we're going to put the army on the streets. What? In United Kingdom, the army in the streets? They've got to be so damn careful that you don't misread about fear-mongering, because it can get you anxieties. If you've already got anxiety or other disabilities, it can not help the situation, put it that way. If you don't have that, then just also streetwise being observant, just go about your everyday stuff, but also being conscious and aware and practical situations, little by little. My mum taught me this. Stocking up, always have a base. I mean, I was one of two, so I got two older sisters, and always have like a bottom drawer, she would call it. So like we'll get married and have a bottom drawer, and we have all this ready to prepare our family house, you know, at home. But I wasn't quite like that, like my sisters, but I've always had that training ever since my gran had it. So it runs in the family gene, in the female side. My gran had it because it's from the war years and the depression years. It run through my family, and where my family gene comes from Cornwall, so we're Celtish. So it came from my grand's side and her family side of the female line, and it went into my mum. It went on to us girls, you know, me and my other sisters. My one older sister, she is thinks she's so well off. She's lost all these skills, by the way. She will have access to their religious church she belongs to, their story, which they are well, storage is what they're into, and I admire that about them, but I don't believe in that particular religion. Anyway, and then you got my other sister. She is extremely skilled in crafts, needlework, and as I said, crocheting and knitting and making things. And also she does have the skills, she's remembered these, about storage, and we're quite similar that way, but she's got a health more than I, and although we don't see eye to eye now, which is a shame, but these skills she passed on to her. She's got a big family herself, so she's passed it on to her family. And there's only two of the girls out of her 6 kids, I think she had, can't remember now, so large, and 2 of them have picked up the skills. So I don't know whether it's generation loses these basic skills, but as I've got older, I lost the skills years ago, regained the memories, put practical little things into fruition. Maybe helpful, maybe not, who knows, but it's worth a try. And then, yeah, it takes the loss of my mother to remember these skills. It's odd, yeah, but perhaps things happen for a reason, who knows. So there you have it. Don't always believe what you read in the media, obviously, common sense. Unfortunately, a lot of people still, you know, look down and in front of their TV box and just on the conveyor belt of life, and unfortunately might just be caught out. And there's a lot of people that are waking up. Unfortunately, in my situation, I could only do little things I'm able to and share information. I'm just going to focus on little things. I hope this has made some of an interesting thoughts to think about, to look into, to dust off those books, or look in secondhand shops of first aid or natural health ideas, and source around where you might be able to find ingredients, and perhaps this is the new year to try and think of things like that before, you know, just common sense approach. Perhaps think about reading and learning how to use a compass and reading a map, not just a road map. Because if you've got a modern car, for example, you know, all these gadgets about, if there's like what was one channel was saying about, I can't remember now, if there's going to be effect of some kind of radiation effect on the weather, and it affects electrics, and the and you think how many mobile phone towers and the radiation effects that could also affect electronics working, so your mobility vehicles. So if you've got skills of riding your bike, have you got skills of alternative transport? You know, have you got ability? Have you gone out hiking? Have you carried a backpack on the back of you? Have you learnt skills about camping? Do you know where to go? Do you know your area? Especially when you live in the city. How many people will be around panicking? Think about it. I know, for example, that whatever transpires, whatever happens, if anything negative does, at least I know what I know when I pass the information out now. And think what you will of it. It's up to you, freedom of thought, so to speak. And if anything doesn't happen the way I observe and sense things, in my opinion, might just happen this forthcoming year onwards, then, well, then at least you've got something to back up your situation in case you lose your job, you know, or your health deteriorates or whatever, and you've got some backup of some skills or some food or some practical things in your home that might help your situation out. Because the cutbacks and services are really, there isn't anything to assist a lot of people right now. And God bless, I've got to go and get some rest. And thank you for listening. And take care.